So, folks, Donald Trump ordered the Pentagon to draw up plans to send the National Guard to numerous cities across the country, including Chicago. Well, today, Illinois Governor J.B, flanked by Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and members of the congressional delegation and other leaders in Illinois, made it perfectly clear they're not going to stand silent as the thug-in-chief continues to try to intimidate cities across the country. They make it clear there's no legal basis for this action, and they will fight him tooth and nail.
Over the weekend, we learned from the media that Donald Trump has been planning for quite a while now to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago. This is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders warned against. And it's the reason that they established a federal system with a separation of powers built on checks and balances. What President Trump is doing is unprecedented and unwarranted. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is un-American. No one from the White House or the executive branch has reached out to me or to the mayor. No one has reached out to our staffs. No effort has been made to coordinate or to ask for our assistance in identifying any actions that might be helpful to us. Local law enforcement has not been contacted. We have made no requests for federal intervention. None. We found out what Donald Trump was planning the same way that all of you did. We read a story in the Washington Post. If this was really about fighting crime and making the streets safe, what possible justification could the White House have for planning such an exceptional action without any conversations or consultations with the governor, the mayor, or the police? Let me answer that question. This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals. This is about the President of the United States and his complicit lackey, Stephen Miller, searching for ways to lay the groundwork to circumvent our democracy, militarize our cities, and end elections. There is no emergency in Chicago that calls for armed military intervention. There is no insurrection. There is no insurrection. Like every major American city in both blue and red states, we deal with crime in Chicago. Indeed, the violent crime rate is worse in red states and red cities. Here in Chicago, our civilian police force and elected leaders work every day to combat crime and to improve public safety. And it's working. Not one person here today will claim we have solved all crime in Chicago. Nor can that be said of any major American metro area. But calling the military into a U.S. city to invade our streets and neighborhoods and disrupt the lives of everyday people is an extraordinary action, and it should require extraordinary justification. Look around you right now. Does this look like an emergency? Look at this. Go talk to the people of Chicago who are enjoying a gorgeous afternoon in this city. Ask the families buying ice cream on the Riverwalk. Go see the students who are at the beach after school. Talk to the workers that I just met taking the water taxi to get here. Find a family who's enjoying today sitting on their front porch and ask if they want their neighborhoods turned into a war zone by a wannabe dictator. Ask if they'd like to pass through a checkpoint with unidentified officers in masks while taking their kids to school. Crime is a reality we all face in this country. Public safety has been among our highest priorities since taking office. We have hired more police and given them more funding. We banned assault weapons, ghost guns, bump stocks, and high-capacity magazines. We invested historic amounts into community violence intervention programs. We listened to our local communities, to the people who live and work in the places that are most affected by crime, and asked them what they needed to help make their neighborhoods safer. Those strategies have been working. Crime is dropping in Chicago. Murders are down 32% compared to last year and nearly cut in half since 2021. Shootings are down 37% since last year and 57% from 4 years ago. Robberies are down 34% year over year. Burglaries down 21%. Motor vehicle thefts down 26%. So in case there was any doubt as to the motivation behind Trump's military occupations, take note. 13 of the top 20 cities in homicide rate have Republican governors. None of these cities is Chicago. 8 of the top 10 states with the highest homicide rates are led by Republicans. None of those states is Illinois. Memphis, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, Mississippi have higher crime rates than Chicago, and yet Donald Trump is sending troops here and not there? Ask yourself why. If Donald Trump was actually serious about fighting crime in cities like Chicago, he, along with his congressional Republicans, would not be cutting over $800 million in public safety and crime prevention grants nationally, including cutting $158 million in funding to Illinois for violence prevention programs that deploy trained outreach workers to de-escalate conflict on our streets. Cutting $71 million in law enforcement grants to Illinois, direct money for police departments through programs like Project Safe Neighborhoods, the state and local anti-terrorism training program, and the Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative. Cutting $137 million in child protection measures in Illinois that protect our kids against abuse and neglect. Trump is defunding the police. To the members of the press who are assembled here today and listening across the country, I am asking for your courage to tell it like it is. This is not a time to pretend here that there are two sides to this story. This is not a time to fall back into the reflexive crouch that I so often see, where the authoritarian creep by this administration is ignored in favor of some horse race piece on who will be helped politically by the president's actions. Donald Trump wants to use the military to occupy a U.S. city, punish his dissidents, and score political points. If this were happening in any other country, we would have no trouble calling it what it is, a dangerous power grab.
And Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. He said it during the campaign. This is this idiot today in the Oval Office.
As you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person.
Y'all, the fool wants to be a dictator. He loves dictators. He relishes the power of dictators. That's who this thug is, Ome Congo.
Plain and simple, bottom line. We saw with his first term, his admiration for Putin, or which obviously is still continuing now. North Korea, I mean, run down the list. All of his quote-unquote friends from around the world are dictators. Orban, you can run down the list. When he was interviewed, Sean Hannity, I'll only be a dictator on day one. This is a man who's always, Mark Milley, former chief of staff, told us about, the Joint Chiefs, told us about this as well. And so there's no confusion as it relates to the rest of us. This is who he is. Milley said that he's fascistic to his core. And one thing we also have to be mindful of is that Pritzker talked about what's his name, Miller being the lackey there. But the matter of fact is, we all know that he's the grand orchestrator of all of this, Stephen Miller. How many times do you hear a deputy chief of staff speak at all of these events? He is the leader of this white supremacist mindset. Trump is the white supremacist in chief. He's not smart enough to do a lot of this, but all he cares about is dominance and control. And so he's going to continue to go to these cities with black mayors. He's going to continue to target Democratic states, and it has to continually be called out. And if anybody's going to sit here and say, oh my gosh, Donald Trump said today that he's not a dictator and he's just, so it must be true. Read the room, read the temperature of the country. And anybody who thought this was not going to happen, that when he was literally at the Republican National Convention, literally saying, hey, John Bolton, literally saying, I will be your retribution, and y'all thought he was joking. If y'all didn't realize it now, you better get on the good foot before it's too late, because we're getting there.
Julian, it's gonna escalate. People need to understand that it will escalate. This idiot is drunken with power, and he knows that his own party will not say or do anything, and they control the levers of power.
You know, Roland, it's only been 8 months since this person was inaugurated into the presidency. In these 8 months, we have seen cataclysmic change. The takeover of D.C., the threats to Chicago and Baltimore, the changing of the rules about just about everything, the attack on our immigrant brothers and sisters, and the attacks on us. In 8 months, he has created more havoc. My grandmother used to talk about the bull in a china closet. She said, that person is just like a bull in a china closet. And that's what he is. And everything, when the bull comes into the china closet, everything gets broken. And that's what he's attempting to do. What is disturbing here is that Republicans of good conscience, or at least they used to be, are letting him get away with it. The Dems don't have the numbers in the House or the Senate. So we're relying on, essentially, Republicans with conscience, and woefully, there don't seem to be any. So he's basically tearing the rules up to all of our detriment, and I think we're all just very frustrated. But you know, it's going to be a year and a half to 2026 elections, and the question becomes, what are people going to do? Those who are responsible, those who are agitators, those who are advocates, need to make sure that we get the vote out. I mean, there were hundreds of thousands of people in Texas, in Mississippi, in Georgia, who just chose not to vote. And why? They didn't believe that fat meat was greasy. I mean, I've heard so many people, well, he's not going to do all that. Well, hey, he did it. You know, people say I have a neighbor, Latina sister, who told me she wasn't worried about Trump because he had a better handle on the economy. Then months later, she called me up. Do you know anybody my cousin, he's about to get deported? I just snapped my fingers and said, oh, well, because basically you didn't believe that fat meat was greasy. Now you're drowning in the grease. But the issue, Roland, is that we have to be willing and able to fight back and to take risks in order to fight back. You take risks just about every day because you call it out. But there are a whole lot of people in the mainstream media who refuse to take risks, to all of our detriment. We may not have a mainstream media in several months. He's talking about taking the licenses of NBC and ABC. Come on now, and we're going to be silent? I don't think so.
Yes, Scott. Listen again. They are using every level of power to attack people. He got pissed off because Chris Christie was complaining about him and said he was going to launch investigations into Chris Christie. And on that particular note, you know what is very interesting because you know ABC News has not had me on ABC This Week in 4 years since I criticized Christie to his face. And isn't it interesting that Christie is now saying the same things that I was saying on that particular day 4 years ago? So ABC News, I wonder who was right. Oh, I'm sorry, you're the same ABC that Donald Trump is now threatening to take your licenses. See what happens when you play footsie with the devil? Scott? Scott, you're on mute. Okay, guys, what's going on? Why can't I hear Scott? Either he's on mute or we have him on mute. All right, so, all right, y'all, okay, fine. Y'all figure out what the hell's happening with Scott's audio so I can get him up to answer that particular point. But again, I just need people to understand what's going on here. We told people about this. We said this was going to take place. We said this man had no conscience. He had no morals, no values, no principles, no ethics, no integrity, no honor, and no decency. And we're seeing it play out right now. Okay? This is precisely why we must resist. This is why every single thing must be done. If that means Democrats gerrymandering, then damn it, you gerrymander. If that means that every group files lawsuits on every single thing, that's what happens. And what it also means, if you're these damn Senate Democrats, you vote on nothing. You do not support a single nominee. You block everything. You filibuster everything. You have a blue slip on everything. This to me is nonsensical. This is very simple. You say nothing. We will support nothing. We will obstruct everything. That's what you do. You cannot play nice with these people because we see their evil ways every single day. All right, Scott, now you can talk.
Okay, so I watched the press conference with Donald Trump, and I wasn't surprised, but all of his allegations, all of his superlatives are just rooted in lies on top of lies. Like, for example, if we were rioting in the street and crime was running rampant and you want to send in the National Guard, then why wouldn't you want to join a partnership with D.C., the nation's capital where he lives, right? And say, I want to offer these troops to you. I want to offer them special federal police. D.C. has more police, federal and agency police and local police than any other urban center. If you think arresting people and putting them in jail is going to work, which is what his theory is, watch this. Per capita, D.C. has more people incarcerated and makes more arrests than any other urban center. And yet and still, we have our crime challenges. So arresting people isn't it. If you really want to help D.C., there's a multi-million-dollar bill on the Hill that would hire more police and put more money in programming to give young people an alternative to violence and negative conduct. And we know that if you have a continuum of care for young people who may be committing crimes in our challenged communities, then you do it through public-private partnerships, you do it through churches, you do it through crime prevention, not solving crime. What is crime prevention? Community policing, having police walk the community, from the community, and what have you. But it's expensive. It takes a lot of money. And so if you really want to help D.C., putting the National Guard out isn't helping the economy, by the way. If you talk to the restaurants, they'll tell you they're down 30, 40% because people are terrified of coming into the D.C. because they think they're on a militarized zone, and they're not using the reservation apps out here. So it's not helping the economy. It's all for show. And you know what? It's working for Trump because we're talking about troops in D.C. and militarizing Chicago. And guess what we're not talking about? We're not talking about Epstein, which is what this is all about. They finally found a topic that would get us off Epstein. But it's not going away, as you and I have talked about, but it's delaying the energy behind the Epstein issue for him.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.